Rick Marks here. So what do you think about when you're not thinking? Have you ever thought about that? Been reading the Digital Minimalism and found a quite interesting part I'm up to, and it looks at, there's been neurological studies done around what we think about in a dormant state or in a non-thinking. So they've had a group of people and they've been getting them to think about whatever, and then it's what they've moved on to calling the default state. A default network is, to be precise. It was originally called the task-induced deactivation network, was what it originally was called. And their study found that the same parts of our brain are activated in this default state, I guess, or dormant state, as when we're in our social. So what it was like, whether it be social virtual network, whether it be friends and family in the physical aspect, whether it's in concerns and worries about those social networks. I thought that was quite interesting because Lieberman, who was the one that did the study, found that in a social world, because we are built to turn on the default network during our free time, it can impact. And this is that whole, like, getting out of the whole rat race, I guess, and the noise of digital, because that adds more fuel. And I myself, growing up as many would call a millennial, I often identify more with Gen X, because I grew up, digital technology came in. I have an analog world baseline, I guess. I'm aware myself that the digital world is show. It's our pretty photo album of really great moments. Very few people necessarily show the bad side. It's not really, in Gen X and previous generations, we look at that as airing dirty laundry. Why would you want to make anybody, like, the arguments and stuff that go on inside the home behind closed doors. They're not on the front lawn, or, that's not necessarily perception. I think that's probably not the right term, but it's about audience and knowing the audience. And I have talked in the past about knowing your audience and understanding who you're talking with and to, and this falls straight into that as well. So even say like YouTube, a lot of my audience, I don't actually know them, and so I'm very mindful of what I share and don't share, because I have a personal life. I have a family and stuff. I don't need to necessarily hear any of that stuff, or and so I'm very selective in that regard. Even within my Instagram, in regards to anything, I'm very mindful of the audience that I am presenting whatever it is to, what information can be provided, what who my friends are in those social networks as well, who are the contacts, and then what platform am I using that for? I'm very big on LinkedIn, do a lot of stuff through that, but again, it's a professional audience. I don't generally share a lot of personal stuff down on there. The only time I believe I ever crossed that line was the loss of our son. I shared it on there because I pretty much extracted myself straight out of the workplace quite quickly, and a lot of the a lot of my professional network are connected through there, and so it kind of gave people an understanding of why I just all of a sudden disappeared from work, sort of thing, because they're not in my actual immediate company or circle. But other than that, I generally keep it pretty PC and pretty professional. So I guess it's a matter of understanding and realizing that these social connections, I've seen, again, this plays into the depressions and stuff, where a lot of the kids of today don't have that analog anchor. And so they think that this glamorous life that's shown on Instagram, that's shown on TikToks, that's shown on, even when people are being silly and they have an accident or something happens, that's still not really showing that life's hard and there's no easy path. Makes people then start to feel depressed. They think it's just me. I'm the only one going through this. I'm the only one, battling this. And that creates then, more depression and more, self-awareness and loneliness, because we retract. I saw a fascinating thing the other day. It was a meme and it talked about Tigger. Winnie the Pooh in general. It had Tigger and had Eeyore and Piglet and there's Chris Robin and all the rest of them. But it was highlighting that Eeyore, as much as he's always gloomy and down and, as adults looking at it, he's quite depressed. It said, you really need to remember that even those that are experiencing depression need to be included. And it was showing again, everyone in Winnie the Pooh doesn't exclude or remove themselves from Eeyore because he's a downer and boring and depressed. They try to find ways to include him. And it got me to thinking, how do we do that? Do we see a friend that's struggling, we invite them out and they decline, we invite them out again and they decline, we end up giving up on them. And I think often we give up because it's just too hard to ask more questions or get more curious or try to see what big is going on in their world. Because if we did that, we would be getting uncomfortable and we would potentially be opening our arms up, but they may just need that. And so then what happens is some people, their depression gets more and more and more and more and more and worse, and then they can end up taking their life. And really, when we look at it, it could have just been a matter of us trying to include them, trying to not necessarily fix their problem, because I think that becomes the problem. We either understand or see someone's depressed and we go, I need to fix that. You shouldn't be depressed, you've got so much to be happy for, or we try to then tell them how they should feel. So yeah, I thought I'll expand more on in future videos, but I think we need to start to think about that social mindset. And the digital minimalism, I'll put the link in the description, but it talks in a lot of detail around breaking those patterns and trends and being trapped in the virtual cyberspace. Because yeah, as like I say, I've got the analog upbringing. Tech came in and I was able to enhance and improve and adapt to it, but I also know that there's a world without it, and you can survive there. This book talks a lot about doing those sorts of journeys. So for those who are Alpha A or whatever the gen is of more recent, grab a copy of the book, have a good read, and challenge yourself to try and live in the 90s would be my challenge. Yeah, if you enjoyed the video, thumbs up, hit subscribe, and you'll see me on the next video. Have an awesome day. Catch up. Bye.